This is U.S. Army and Vietnam veteran Ken McConnell, and on behalf of MilitaryBandsman.com, I want to welcome you to our podcast for December 2014. This is the latest in a series of monthly broadcasts reviewing the prior month's activities on our website, www.militarybandsman.com. We also want to share current events and band news, as well as reunion dates and future military band performances. Do you know anything about the Army Band Liaison Office? A brief history at the end of the broadcast. Before we get started, we'd like to share charitable information about Military One Source. Military One Source is a Department of Defense funded program providing information on every aspect of military life at no cost to active duty, National Guard, and Reserve members and their families. Information includes, but not limited to, deployment, reunion, relationships, grief, spouse employment and education, parenting, and childhood services. It's a vital extension to installation services. For more information about this program, visit www.operationonefront.mil. MilitaryBandsman.com's sole purpose is to help reconnect veteran military musicians from all branches of service, past and present. It's a free website. Look at your band's roster to see who you might find. Let's get started by reviewing new members for December 2014. Paige Garwood, U.S. Navy electric bass and tuba player. David Natsaway, U.S. Navy trombone player. Scott Magnuson, U.S. Army flute and piccolo player. Kathy Conley, U.S. Army trombone player. Michael Lyons, U.S. Army French horn player. Jeremy Carter, U.S. Army tuba player. Leslie Furtado, U.S. Army vocalist, flute, and piccolo player. David Hall, U.S. Army French horn player. Carolyn Reed, U.S. Navy vocalist. Chester Farmer, U.S. Army trumpet player. Carla Tapaner, U.S. Army trumpet player. Arthur Ferris, U.S. Army trumpet player. Paul Chasen, U.S. Air Force and U.S. Army piano player. Michael Kahn, U.S. Army saxophone player. Michael Lee, U.S. Navy trumpet player. Stephanie Dorr, U.S. Army vocalist and flute player. Nancy Cohen, U.S. Army tuba player. David Tyson, U.S. Army trumpet player. Michael Stout, U.S. Navy tuba player. Jerry Wells, U.S. Marine Corps tenor saxophone player. Bob Stewart, U.S. Army French horn player. James Goff, U.S. Army tuba and double bass player. Dick Ryan, U.S. Army French horn player. Bob McKenna, U.S. Army guitar player. And last but not least, Dalen Drake, U.S. Marine Corps electric bass player. On Sunday, January 18th, the U.S. Coast Guard Academy Band will be performing a concert featuring music from Korngold, Wagner, Dvorak, and more. The show will take place at the Coast Guard's Academy Leamy Concert Hall in New London, Connecticut. And on Thursday, February 26th, the U.S. Air Force Airmen of Note will be playing at the 2015 Lionel Hampton Jazz Festival taking place at the University of Idaho. Details to be announced. Our Facebook groups have added 77 new members in December, and as of this broadcast, our Military Bandsman Facebook page and this website have reached 1,034 likes. You can contribute to the success of these groups by interacting on their pages, and be sure to click the like button. We're proud to have reached the 1,000 like milestone, and thank all of you who have contributed. Our weekly updated feature, The Back of the Bus, The Life and Times of Military Musicians, is presented by veteran Air Force musician Fred Robinson, as he shares excerpts from his book series written by veteran musicians for veteran musicians. Enjoy reading The Back of the Bus by clicking on the link on our homepage, www.militarybandsman.com. And now here's what we have on the Army Band Liaison Program. In the early 90s, the Army Band recruiting program was having rough times signing on musicians. Some years, the band recruiting goal was at or below 50%. In 1992, this problem was acknowledged and a program was enacted establishing a position to act as a liaison between the U.S. Army Band Program and the U.S. Army Recruiting Command, and the first Army Band liaison was appointed. The program was operated from the U.S. Army element at the School of Music, but set up offices at Fort Story, Virginia. The unit was called the Directorate of Training and Doctrine. There were several brigade recruiters eventually assigned throughout the nation, focusing on the 5 critical short MOSs, which were French horn, clarinet, oboe, bassoon, and piano. The Directorate of Training and Doctrine, or Band Liaison, is still responsible for operations and protocol of Army bands and deserve a hand for keeping the Army band program alive and active. Here's a salute to all military musicians, past, present, and future, and to all the veterans that have served our country in the United States Armed Forces. This is U.S. Army and Vietnam veteran Ken McConnell, and on behalf of MilitaryBandsman.com, wish you all the success and happiness in 2015, and hope you've enjoyed this broadcast.